Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everybody, wherever you are around the world somewhere. Welcome to another very interesting webinar that we're organizing for all of you. Since, in the meanwhile, few months, few years almost, the International Grooms Association has been founded as one of the last stakeholders, but they always say last but not least, because the International Grooms Association, I think, is becoming well recognized within our sports as an important player, as an important stakeholder to represent all those very important people who take care of the real athletes of our sport, namely the horses. Many of our officials, specifically stewards, most of the time, are really lots of the time in touch with these grooms. They talk a lot, they work together a lot. So I think it's really important that we have a good understanding of both organizations, the grooms of us, we from the grooms, and that's the reason why we planned this webinar together with the International Grooms Association. We are very happy and proud that we have Lucy Catan, and I hope I pronounce it now correctly, here as the founding director of the International Grooms Association, also an official stakeholder in the meanwhile of the FEI. She will be guiding us and talking us through the ideas, the vision of the International Grooms Association, and also how we can even improve our cooperation in the future. So, Lucy, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and thank you for inviting me to come and talk with you today. So, as always, I'm just going to share the screen, and hopefully all can see. Hopefully I can see. Okay. 1 minute, bear with me, sorry. Screen share. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, apologies. Okay, so the International Grooms Association. Hopefully everyone has heard of the IGA now, which is good news. And I've been asked to talk a little about life as the show stables from the perspective of a groom. But first and foremost, just to say this really is the first time that we're going to talk. I hope that there will be plenty more opportunities to discuss how the FEI stewards and officials can work more in collaboration with the IGA. So a little bit about us, for those that do not know. The IGA is the professional association for all grooms working internationally in FEI disciplines. We are a not-for-profit company and a global organisation. Our board is global, but we are based in the UK, my little office in London. Membership is encouraged from all continents, and the IGA has a board of international directors. What do we do? Well, we exist to support our members throughout their career as a groom, providing support, advice, and education to all that work in the industry, and most critically, to speak up on the issues that really matter to both the FEI and international show organisers. So the founding of the IGA. I cannot believe that it was a year ago, how quick a year goes. But we were formed at the request of the FEI president, Ingmar de Vos, and to become the representative voice of the international grooms. It was enabled by an FEI startup funding grant, but we must as an organisation become self-sustainable. And last year at the FEI Sports Forum, a year ago, we launched with an MOU signed with the FEI, and next week, 1 year old. And at this point, it was significant because the grooms had a formal voice. And at the same time, in the same time period, the FEI formed the FEI Consultative Group, which is chaired by Frank Kempelman. So what's our vision? The written vision is striving to achieve recognition with a collaborative voice, and this word collaborative is very important to me, with greater career opportunities, status, and working environments for all grooms working within FEI level equestrian disciplines. In reality, the aims are for grooms to have a voice, and one that's heard and actioned upon as and when possible, to improve the working and living environment for all grooms at the FEI shows and events they attend in their line of duty, and to raise the media awareness, respect, and recognition for the important role that the grooms perform, and none more so than in regards to the welfare of the horse and the social licence. And we want to see all grooms, regardless of their level of skill or experience, employed legally, fairly, and kindly. Big aims, and they will take time to come about, but we are just at the beginning. So, as we are a self-sustainable organisation, we have to find income streams, and one is membership, but the other is a program that we created called the Show Supporters. And these just an example of all of the shows that have teamed up with us and have become a show supporter. And what that means is they give us a little bit of money, very small, but altogether it gives an income stream to the IGA. And we then get to work with the show. And so many of these shows have come to us and said, give us some ideas. What can we do better? And just for example, if I pick one out of here, so Burley had a Grooms Lounge for the first time. Same with London International, a meeting with Michael Stone, talking a bit more about Wellington next weekend at the Sports Forum. And I forget which one it was, but I think it was maybe Gothenburg, wherever they are. They ran an exercise, a test to see if they could bring the food from their food concessions into the stables for the grooms. So a bit like in the UK, we have Deliveroo, Uber Eats. So they did it in the show format, and it was very popular. And we've worked with all of these shows to make things better. Why do we do this? Why are we doing this? Because ultimately, can we all look at each other in the eye and be confident to say it's okay, that everything right now is okay? And the answer would be no. We're all aware of the challenges posed by the current focus on social license. I don't know if anybody follows news in the UK, but we just had a big horse race called the Grand National. And yet again, the social license became a really big subject matter on social media and even on television. And grooms are an essential part of a positive social license, because the groom is the lover of the horse, the carer of the horse, the carer of the elite athlete. But yourselves as a steward, you also play a part in that, because you are safeguarding the welfare of the horse on the showgrounds. But it's not just what happens at the shows and events, and the IGA is not just about what happens at the shows. Horse welfare really matters, but also human welfare matters. And I think that we all have a shared responsibility, and I'll talk a bit more about that in my next slides. But like I say, this is just the beginning of talking together, but I think we will all admit that there are things that are not quite right with what's happening in the equestrian sector regarding grooms, and that we're all committed to make it better. Okay, so the question is now, how can it be improved? The collaboration between the grooms and the FEI official. What can we do to make it better? And apologies, this is a wordy slide, but this is really to help me to bring out the points, okay, following conversations with Ali. So first of all, regarding the understanding, and when I was pulling these slides together, I did consult with what we call our experience directors, which are the grooms that sit on our board. And these were their feedback, these were their comments about how, in particular, it's the stewards, the FEI stewards who go into the stables, who inform those tasks on their interaction. So I think there's things that we can both do as bodies, so to speak. First of all, it's about the understanding. Sometimes the feeling is from the grooms that the FEI stewards are there to catch you out. Now, that, in my view, is a lack of understanding. And there needs to be a far better understanding from the groom's perspective of the role of the FEI steward, and a recognition of the shared goal being best horse welfare. So, question is, sort of throwing it out there, how do we achieve this? One thing we're doing in the International Grooms Association is we're currently building a section on the website called the FEI Knowledge, which is explaining about how to be an international groom. Because more often than not, you become a groom and suddenly you're going to an international show and no one tells you about the rules. You haven't got a clue. And the FEI are improving their website currently. We are aware of that for grooms, but would it be the place that the groom would naturally go? Possibly not. So that's a piece of work that I think we can do to improve. Second is about communication. So the grooms that I spoke to fed back when the communication is good between the FEI steward and the grooms, it's really easy for the grooms to understand that they're there to do a job and to look after the horses. However, if the communication is insufficient, this creates a lack of trust and confidence and collaboration. So that was their feedback. Communication between the groom and the officials, the question is it really the best it could be? Or are there changes that we can bring in to bring the two parties much closer together? Just throwing out the questions. I have no idea. Does this happen? Does the FEI steward introduce themselves in the stables and go stable line by stable line and ask, is everything okay? Is anything to be helped with? For the more senior grooms, this would be a shrug of the shoulders, yeah, I'm cool. But for a less experienced groom, and I'm very careful to say a younger groom because we all perceive a less experienced groom as younger, but that is not necessarily the case, certainly at the lower level, the lower star levels, because you could have a youngish rider who's coming into their first 1 or 2 star, and they actually have a groom who's been with them for many, many years, but has never stepped onto the international scene, if you see what I mean. So we must be careful not to label the inexperienced as young. The grooms, do they know your name? Do they know the name of the FEI steward and how to contact them if required? So many shows nowadays have a welcome pack. Is this in the welcome pack? Is it on the stable entrance door? I mean, how does this work? Can it be improved? Because when I ask this question, when I've been at internationals since I formed the IGA, honestly, more often than not, there's a shrug of the shoulders and the grooms are not aware. There's not a collaborative piece here. So I think it can be improved. And that sort of brings it into that closeness and that trust and that confidence. Would a groom have the confidence to speak up to an FEI official? So the more experienced grooms have cited they would do, especially for you stewards that they are familiar with and you know them and they know you. But more worryingly, the younger, less experienced grooms have said they're too nervous to. They perceive the steward as the police in some circumstances, which in a way you possibly are at times, but you're maintaining the rules, which is good for all sport because we have to have a level playing field. But how can this process be improved? What can happen to create a better two-way process? Or maybe it's okay. I look forward to hearing your thoughts when we go into the Q&A. So also about the expectation, I was asked to talk a little bit about this. So some grooms would have no expectation because they don't have an understanding of your role and remit. Okay, they know that you're there, but they don't really understand what you do. So I think that in itself, I think together we can certainly do some really good work around that, explaining the role of the FEI steward, using the IGA as the vehicle to put that information out and sort of thinking video content and the information in that way. But also, is it a lost opportunity for the groom to speak up when something isn't right, if there isn't an understanding? Another question is, so sometimes the grooms say, well, the FEI stewards, they care about the horses, but they don't really care about us. Well, I'm sure that's not right. I'm sure you must care about the grooms. Of course you do. Many of you would have been grooms in your previous life, I'm sure, or even so now. But do you have the ability to recognise, flag, report a situation where a groom was clearly struggling? Is there a two-way process here? Is that something that happens? And also, I think there is, again, a two-way understanding. A little bit of feedback is about timings and understanding of the groom's demands and role. So, for example, asking the groom to do some of the forms and the tasks that they have to do. It's understanding when is a good time to ask that and when it's not. And I'm positive that most of you are confident on when those times are. But even so, perhaps that's something we could perhaps investigate to be more helpful for all. So also, I always look at education and how can we help to improve knowledge. And I think the FEI steward, if I'm right in saying, are the knowledge holders of how everything the FEI works, from temperature taking, the app, etc. But does the steward communicate with the grooms to assist with their compliance and support and educate any less experienced grooms. How do the grooms know the rules? Because the feedback that we receive constantly is that actually the grooms are not aware of the rules. The riders are, but as we know, amazingly, the riders do not pass on the messages. I don't understand why, but this is just something that happens over and over again. And even my time, when I was an international dressage groom 20 years ago, my rider never passed anything on to me. And I'm always amazed that the same thing still happens in this day and age. So how can we improve that? Could there be perhaps sometimes sessions in the stables with the FBI steward for a rule update? Just throwing it out there. Again, these really are just ideas and just thoughts at this early stage. So I've done quite well, hopefully. I've talked fast. I have a very short time period, I'm afraid, today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to open the floor to questions. There wasn't a question.
Actually, yes, Lucy, there were two questions.
Okay.
I can cite them for you. Both of them were actually about your membership base.
Yeah.
The first question was, can an FEI steward become an IGA member?
If you would like to, yeah, absolutely. If they are a groom too, or I mean, an FEI, the IGA, the memorandum of the IGA is that we exist for the international grooms, and members are to be international grooms. So an FEI steward, if they are also performing a role as an international groom, then for sure, of course they can. But I would say the being a steward and being a member, I don't see the benefit.
All right. And the next question was, how many members do you currently possess?
What are we on? What did I say? 400? 400? I forget. 400. Yeah, our target is 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah, our target is 1,000. And I think it's an achievable target. But we have to be very realistic because we have a language barrier in some cases. So, and there will be certain countries where the grooms, just like Mexico's, and you're just not going to get them. So we have to be realistic. But I'm quite pleased. If I'm honest, my year one target was 400. So I made it.
All right. Glenn, do you have any points to add? Because there were some really, for me, interesting points which could be elaborated or further developed. For example, like the communication between the grooms and the FEI officials. What could be done in the stables, etc.
Yeah, I think for sure we have common ideas. We have common problems. Just to say one thing, length of the shows. Sometimes I can imagine that quite some grooms are talking about it. Well, quite some officials are also talking about it. So I think for sure we have some issues and problems in common that we will not be able to solve here today, but that we need to talk about in the future as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why we, as an international official organization and the International Grooms Organization, on the other hand, really need to stay in close contact to see what we can do, what ideas we can bring forward to help each other there.
Charles Mauldin has, sorry if I've said that wrong, has said a very, very solid point, which is I think it would be helpful if any IGA members introduce themselves to the FBI stewards at shows. I think that's an excellent point, and I would take that away. Yes. One thing that we are looking at, and please bear with us, we're only in the first year, so lots of people come up with lots of great questions, lots of great ideas, but it takes time, as I'm sure you're aware, to get these things off the ground. But we are looking at there being, certainly on the bigger shows, there being a groom's representative in the stables, as there often is a rider's representative within the structure of the show. And I went out to Den Bosch and I had a good chat with Frank regarding this, and it's something that we're really looking at doing. And ideally that person would be an IGA member. So their first task would be to go and introduce themselves to the steward.
As you see, questions are flowing in now.
Okay, we have 20 minutes. Do you have any online information specific to grooms, and is there an option for translation of same? Yes, absolutely. Please type into your phone, your computer, internationalgrooms.org. We have a whole website and full of information, and a building, we're building it constantly as these things go. Regarding translation, it works on Google's Translate. There is a plan for next year that we will translate the entire website, at the moment probably into French and German, not Spanish at the moment, for the reason that our number of Spanish grooms is very low. So we will first of all go with French and German, and then Spanish and Italian as a third and fourth. So can you give us an example of worries or problems which grooms new to international shows might be nervous to asking FEI stewards? Oh gosh, I'd love to be able to answer that, but I'm a bit nervous too, because I don't know the answer to that one. Ali, is it possible to take these answers away? Do you keep them? These questions, rather.
Do you mean we should keep them?
Yeah, can we? So we don't lose them, because they're great questions.
Sure.
If you can copy and paste them or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because I think they're really great questions. I don't want to lose them. So I'm not going to answer that, because I don't know is the honest answer. Let me put that back out to the grooms. I would suspect it's probably regarding possibly the app, the temperature taking. So I'm not sure, but let me come back to you on that one, because I don't want to answer it incorrectly. Will the idea that PR is the common communication agent between grooms and FEI officials? I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. Ali, can you help with that question?
He might probably mean person responsible. However, still not further clear. He should, Abdul Samad, can you please clarify your question, further clarify? Thank you.
Thank you. Do I think it's a good idea if stewards have name badges? I do not. Absolutely. I totally think it's a great idea if you have name badges. And I do agree that the IGA members should introduce themselves to the chief steward. I mean, when I went out to Stellenbosch, I must say that I was pleasantly surprised. I would say about 50 to 60% of the stables there were IGA members. So we've actually struck quite well at that 5-star level. We need to now work our way down the levels. But yeah, I think if you had name badges, I think that would very much help. I'm surprised you don't. Okay, hello. Regarding bilateral communication with FEI stewards, you mentioned how to measure temperature. Need to do before the show. Okay. Something you need to do before the show when you have no access. Okay, that one is one I'm going to take away, because I think regarding temperature taking, I'm going to take that one away, and we'll come back to you.
Okay.
The FEI Sports Forum 2021 suggests the name of groom inserted into starting and result lists. Yes, that is something we're following up. It depends on the show. It's not always possible, but for anybody that was watching Henning, the World Championships, both World Championships this year had grooms' names on start lists and program, and for Henning on the television, which was an incredible result. It's not always possible at the lower levels, because the groom's name is not put forward. So that's another bigger piece of work, because it could be groom A or groom B going from the stables. Charles, I love your comment that stewards don't eat grooms. I couldn't agree more. And this is kind of the reason why Ali and I have got talking, because we feel that the grooms there must be a love between the grooms and the stewards, which I'm sure in many cases there are. I'm positive there are, but there needs to be a better understanding. And I would say that I think that is more often than not probably from the groom's side rather than the stewards, if I'm really honest, because they don't understand, because they've never had a source of information direct to them. So this is just the beginning where they can understand your role and remit, and how helpful and lovely I'm sure you all are. I think that we can organise webinars and go through our roles. Yep, couldn't agree more. Again, please capture
This
that.
is what we already agreed before, Lucy.
Yeah, yeah. So I think
explaining our roles to your members as well.
Yeah,
so.
and I think this section of the website that we're working on at the moment, the FBI knowledge, I think that is where it will all be held. And it's going to be like if you, and we're going to get the rider support, because if you are a rider and you're going to an international and you've got a new groom who's never gone to an international, wouldn't it be great to send them to a website where they just could learn everything? And that's the ultimate aim, and we will get there, but please bear with us. We're a very small team and we don't go as fast as we like, but we will get there. Grooms community is large and we meet many times. Communication is difficult. Yeah, understand. I mean, I must admit, I don't go to that many shows due to time commitments, but when I do, I tend to find that there is a fair spoken, most can speak English, but written English is more of a challenge, certainly for the Italians and the French. So that's where I think video content could be really helpful with a translate. So noted. What about an assessment for grooms, like officials, just to improve the knowledge of the rules? Absolutely, Anita. I have an e-learning course in my mind. And I will say that it's no secret that the FBI, their long-term aim is that there will be a situation where, as a groom, you have to be registered with the FBI to enter the stables. And part of that registration process would be that you have passed some form of e-learning course, which includes rules and regulations, and particularly regarding anti-doping. Again, if I'm honest, this is not going to happen in the next 12 months, but it is the long-term aim. And I believe they will reach that point for sure, because it makes complete sense. Has IGA any education plans for grooms rules? Absolutely. All within our FEI knowledge, and we'd be delighted to work with you. And if there's anybody within this community that has some time that they'd like to volunteer and come to me and help us with this, we would be genuinely delighted. Back here, obliged to, sorry, chef to keeps. Okay, we'll come back to that. I'd like to see the grooms form changed to include more questions relevant to their problems. All I couldn't agree more. I don't know if you're all aware that the app is now going to have a form on. Ali, are you aware of that?
Once again, please.
Are you aware that the FBI app is having a technology update where grooms are going to be able to feed back on the app?
I have heard about that, but I do not have an official confirmation.
Okay, that's coming. Okay, I don't know if I'm not no one's told me that's confidential, so I don't feel naughty for telling it. But that is coming, and that will help, but I don't think it overtakes the forms that you normally do. But yeah, I would also like to see more questions regarding their problems. The more ways that we can gain what's going on, the better. We've incidentally today we've had 2 reports from 2 members of very poor facilities at shows, with one with a video of the toilets. I just tell you which show this. Oh, hang on. At a show in Italy, and the girl sent through the video, and I must say, I don't think any of you would like to go to those toilets, and probably neither would I. So I'll tell you the show because I have it here. Bear with me 1 second.
While waiting for that, maybe I can partially answer Abdul Samad, as I understand.
That'd be helpful, thank you.
He is trying to ask why not to replace person responsible or the chef de keep for the communication between the steward and the groom. However, I do not really agree with that, because there are many cases where a steward and the groom are in direct contact with each other, and they might need a direct contact. So it is not always the case. I hope that answers the question from Abdul Samad.
So 3-star Busto Arisivel, sorry.
Let us, if possible, let us not give names if you're going to show a
No,
venue.
I'm not showing, but this show in Italy, Busto, interestingly, you know, the groom sent over the report of the facilities of the toilets and the showers were very poor. My question to you is, does the FBI steward have any role in that poor facility, or are you only focused on the horses?
Difficult to answer, but at the first stage, I would say the foreign judge is also should be following up that, because there are questions related to this in the foreign judge report as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think we've sapped all the questions up.
Yep.
Oh,
One more.
Oh, a few more. Oh no, hang on. Do you think it's possible the grooms should submit their own reports and not just through the chief steward? Remind me the process at the moment. It's the ECS, is that right?
That's event classification system for.
No, I didn't mean that. What's the? I can't remember. What's the form that they have to submit to and give it back to the stewards? What's the name of that?
Which one?
Is there not a form? There's a form that the grooms have to fill in. Is that the ECS?
Our stewards, can you help us?
I think yes, but the Grooms report is only at 5-star shows.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes, Charles is confirming.
Yeah. So
5-star.
Yeah, so that's the reason for the update on the app, because we pushed back to the FBI and said, well, this is all very well, you're capturing information about 5 stars, but the reality is they're the better shows. It's the 1, 2, and 3 stars in particular that have the facility problems. There was a show, another show in Italy, where we had a stream of reports because a load of saddles were stolen and the grooms felt very unsafe, so there was problems out there. So we feed everything. We now have a route to the FBI, but by it coming into the app is a good development, because it provides a route to the FBI for the voice to be heard, which is what it's about. However, it is up to the FBI as to how they manage that report. And that's what we're pressing the FBI on, because it's all very well getting the information, but what's the resolution? Can I answer yes, Kate Horgan? Can I answer yes, we should look after the welfare of grooms, and also the FJ should be aware and report.
Foreign judge.
Foreign judge, okay. Foreign judge is in charge of the state of facilities for the grooms. Okay, yeah. So I think, and again, the interesting thing is that the groom that reported that to us, the great news is that she or he now has a place to report it. And I think we will all agree that that's a positive development in the past 12 months. And we will pick it up. However, on the show, does that groom know where to go? Do they know who to go to? Have they got a route for that complaint? Are they young? Are they brave enough to walk into the stable office? Do you see what I mean? So there's a whole piece of work that I think we can do to improve, and the shows have to be. I am speaking to the show organisers on Sunday night, and the shows need to be take responsibility for their facilities. Darius, however, it must be adequate during the show, not improved for next show. Grooms must be aware they have the right. The right to report to any foreign judge. I didn't know that. So the grooms, I would say, if you were to ask 100 grooms, do you know that you have the right to report the case to a foreign judge? I'd say the survey would say 99 of them would have no clue. Toilets, thank you. Okay, 4 stars also submit forms. Okay. And in the opposite, I was talking to grooms if conditions are sufficient. Yeah, I mean, let's celebrate the good shows. And that's something that we plan to do within the IGA. Eventually, we plan to have the best show in the best 5-star show award. And let's celebrate the things that are done well, because what that does is hopefully inspire those other shows. And I'm sure that as officials, there must be things that you want to see improve on the show. So I think collaboratively, again, we're all about having things done well. You know, from my time as an international groom, the shows have changed so much on the front end, especially when I look at the GCT and lots of people drinking champagne, and it's a much higher quality on the front of house that I'm seeing nowadays. In 20 years time, that's the difference I see. However, it's interesting, in the back of house, I see in some cases very little change. When I see videos of very poor toilets and very poor showers, that's what I experience. So it's sad that this is still happening. So we have to move forward. Yep.
Sorry for interruption, but one of our members, Kate Horgan, is raising her hand. I will switch her on for her to speak. Just hang on.
Yep.
Kate, you can now speak.
Hello, Lucy. It's Kate Horgan. I actually asked my questions, and I think that grooms should have more of a voice. I agree 100%. And I agree that in the lesser shows, this is where a lot of the bigger problems are. But there, as you say, things look good in front of house in some of the major shows, whereas in the background, it's same old, same old. And as a chief or an assistant steward, we should be open to listen to grooms and put them in the right direction, as you say. Send them in the right direction. Introduce them to the foreign judge or the foreign steward as well. And so therefore you have somewhere to go, because without grooms, we'd have no show. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I concur and I agree with everything you say. And I think I think this is just the beginning. I apologize. My time is cut short today, but we will, Ali's, I'm sure, captured all of these great comments, and we can now set a path.
Yes.
Working forward. Ali, just one thing that I just wonder whether it would be worthwhile investigating is one thing we did with the EEF was, I forget what we called it, a memorandum of understanding, another MOU, but a pledge that we will work together. And I just wonder if that's something that us and the IJOC could perhaps look at, that we would be working.
I cannot speak on behalf of the board. However, this was one of the points, remember, that we could investigate in Cape Town, where we said we should look for bilateral opportunities, and this was one of them.
Yeah. So perhaps, Glenn, that's something we could take away as a starting point and create our own strategy and what we'd like to see and what we'd like to deliver over a 24-month period.
Yeah. Seeing the interest of the members here also attending and the comments and the questions, I think for sure it will be a short discussion in the board to see how we can work on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. I'd say a lot. My final thing to say is I think there is a lot of opportunity here for some really good work that I think will benefit not just the 2-legged, but also the 4-legged animals, because I think if we can achieve something that really does make a difference for all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. There are still some comments.
Oh God, there's loads more. Okay. Maybe the association could ask the FEI to extend the grooms report to all shows. Yeah, we've asked. That's on the agenda, but the solution at the moment is the app. But you need to get the grooms on the shows to know that they can use it on the app. And I raised that, so we want some notifications going out from the app. Really could start an introduction here. Thank you. I'm willing to help with some introduction to our roles. Okay, thanks, Anna, Karen, Karen. Please do somehow get in contact with me, because I would love to have somebody that would perhaps work with me from the IJOC as an FEI steward to deliver this, because that I think would be easier. Maybe a Google form quiz about rules and groom questionnaires too in the same format. Okay, well, yeah, a lovely idea. We can certainly pick this up, and all of these comments will hopefully have been captured and we can pick them up.
Yep. I will separately share all the questions raised here to you.
Superb, thanks. Just some really great comments. They just seem to come in a stream. So I think I'm going to have to say that I leave you to your meeting, because my doorbell with my daughter is going to ring any minute. And we don't want her joining us. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you so much for making this happen to Ali and Glenn, and I look forward to the future.
Thank you, Lucy, for your attendance here and for your introduction to the International Grooms Association. I'm quite convinced for sure we will meet a lot in the future, and we have some nice projects together ahead of us.